class. James Jenkins took the win. Luke Brown in the number 2 spot. Isaiah Brown in the number 3 spot. I'm going to switch it back over here to the overall real quick because when you look at the overall, we mentioned Ben Kelly winning the XC1 class, 4th place overall. Lyndon Snodgrass second in the XC1 class, 7th place overall. Mike Wachowski on the podium in XC1 with a 3rd place finish, 10th place overall. Then we dropped down to our top amateur, and it was none other than Team JoJo, Joseph Cunningham, JoJo getting it done. 5th place overall. And we talked about last year, Nick DeFeo getting into the top 10s, getting close to the top 5s. Like, what was the highest finishing amateur that we saw? It might be right here with JoJo going out there and get it done. At the finish line, we kind of alluded to it last week that JoJo might have been hurt, riding hurt, didn't know what the injury was. He gets to the finish line, and he said, just did that with a broken arm. So not sure when JoJo got hurt, but the little pit bull that he is goes out there, gets 5th place overall, winning the 250A class. Gavin Simon, who joined us 3 and some more for a game of Stump on Friday night. We showed the boys how to play it. He goes out there, gets 6th place overall on the day, 2nd top am. So 1st and 2nd top am were ahead of 2nd place in XC2. Grant Davis, 8th place overall. Cody Barnes, 9th. That puts Mike Wachowski 10th with that 3rd and final podium spot in the XC1 class. And Caleb Russell, we mentioned, I'll just go down the line. Josh Strang, 11th place, 4th place, XC1. Jack Walker, a really good ride, coming in right behind the boss man there, 12th place overall. Brody Johnson held on. I think he had some issues as well, but he holds on for 13th overall. Caleb Russell, 14th. Lane Whitmer, who rounds out the top AM podium, 15th place. So your top 3 amateur riders all in the top 15, 2 of them in the top 10.
That's pretty impressive. And actually, the first comment on here on YouTube is it says 250A class 5th overall, got to be a best, or got to be a first in GNCC history. I know we went down this rabbit hole one other time, and I cannot remember who we figured out had the best one. I think it was back to like Thad or Charlie Mullins, wasn't it?
But that was when there was no XC2 class, I believe. That was like whenever Mullins was in 250A on a YZ250, like
06, 05, 06.
Yeah.
But it was way up there.
He got a 2nd, I know.
And didn't we went through this, and it was like Thad or somebody was way up from a B class, and they stopped him.
Yeah, so after we did that, I think it was actually Caleb that reached out to me and sent me some of the stats of it. But I know that, at one point Thad Duvall got a 4th overall, I believe, out of the 250A class. But that is when Thad actually told me the story that he was either on track to win or on track to podium from an A class, and they actually stopped him, or from a B class rather, B class, and they stopped him and slowed him down. And I guess at that time a B class rider couldn't be in that top 3, so they actually had to hold him for like a minute at the finish line just to make sure that he didn't win the race from B class or end up on the overall podium, which is crazy to think about.
That kind of sucks too for a 14-year-old Thad Duvall. Son of a bitch.
Yeah. It was tough back in the 80s, back when Thad was 14. No, I'm just kidding. Thad looked good, man. He I know we talked about it a little bit last week, but he's doing his own thing. He's got help from Bill Gold and the team, but for the most part, more of a grassroots effort, I would say. Definitely not on a factory race team, but he was running good. He was looking good. He was riding good. I think he made a post that said something alluding to the fact that he had bike issues. I don't know what ended up happening, but I did see him in the pits after the 2nd lap. He gets off the bike and pushes on it, and the bike's just pogo sticking. So I believe there was shock. That's what it was for sure.
Yeah, I've heard blown shock.
Okay.
Did you say a blown shock or the moon shock?
Blown shock, Thomas.
Okay. Just making sure I heard you right.
I don't know what just happened there.
This fucking guy.
But I saw him in the pits pushing on the back of it, and it brought me back to the heartbreaker last year. I believe it was the first Indiana race where he was out in front, like in solid control of the XC2, and ended up blowing a shock out there, and they did a shock change for him, and he went back out. But yeah, bummer to see him in the pits kind of pushing on it and seeing that thing spring up. Obviously something was going on with the shock. But yeah, I didn't know if he had actually said that or not. Let's talk about some of the other DNFs that we know of. So, I guess before we get too far past it, I do want to check in with our WXC class. We went through the results, so I want to make sure they get their recognition as well. Rachel Archer, 3-time WXC champion. The interviews Friday at the FanFest thing, they said back-to-back champions, and she cut them off real quick. Said, I've actually won 3 times in a row now. So she's proud of them 3.
She absolutely smoked them girls.
Yeah, dude, she was ripping.
Smoked them. So I believe the final time, I'm looking at the results right now, but I know it was like close to 10 minutes. It was over 9 minutes, like 9:14 maybe is what's coming to my head right now, which was an awesome ride, solid start to the season from her. Rachel Goodish was actually making up time. It looked like she was on her way up towards the front. She was in the number 2 spot. Her bike ended up blowing up. Talked to her briefly on the side. I was riding back and forth for a camera spot, and I saw her sitting there. And like I did a double take, and then I kept riding. I was like, wait, that was Goodish. So I circled around, went back, talked to her. Needless to say, she wasn't too pumped about that, but ends up going out with a mechanical. Shelby Turner holds on for a number 2 spot. We were talking to her on Pro Road before the race. She obviously won last year, Georgia, in the mud. So as a Canadian and hard enduro rider, technical rider, knew that she was going to be tough in those elements. She does get second place. Corey Steed, who was in the mix of that title hunt until she got injured last year, ends up 3rd. Brandy Richards in the number 4 spot, who Rachel and Brandy split wins as my camera goes out. Not sure what happened there. Maybe try to press that button. Just the shutter button on it.
This one?
Yeah. See if that works. Anyway, came down to the wire with the. Oh, we're back. So it came down to the wire last year with Rachel for that championship. She ends up 4th. Taylor Jones making her return back to full-time racing in the number 5 spot. But what?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, back to the point that we were talking about, there was a lot of DNFs. There was a lot of stuff going on out there. We'll talk about some of the ones we know about. You were there for Johnny Girroir, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, so, well, he didn't DNF.
Yeah, true.
Just lost a ton of time. So we were down there, this would have been lap 3. Yeah, because I was at the top for lap 2, and then I was down at the bottom.
Was this the whole situation that went on Racer TV? Because I went back and watched afterwards and watched it.
So where you come into that, it was kind of like an L-shaped wall, I would call it.
Yeah.
And there was really 3 main lines that you went straight through the mud and straight up the hill. The furthest one on the left was kind of like a ravine and had a super deep rut right in the middle of it that you really couldn't avoid. And every time if you went up on the side, you just ended up in the rut at the top. And it was so deep that your foot pegs drug. And that particular lap was a lap that Sipes was down there and had walked through the middle of the mud. And so we were sending guys straight through the mud hole and then up the part of the hill that was real rooty. But when they were coming in it from that direction, they were hitting it and not doing that big hook.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but Ashburn took that far left line and got stuck in the rut. Johnny, I don't know if he just wasn't following who was in front of him or whatever, and he didn't see Ashburn up there, but he took that same line, ran right into the back of Ashburn. When he did that, he hopped off his bike and kind of yanked it around and pulled the front end back down towards the hill and fell, and his bike was laying on the hill flat facing down the hill, and Lyndon came through and tried to go around him and ran right over his bike, and he got stuck in the rut. It's on his Instagram post. There's a video at the end of everybody pulling him out that lap. But when Johnny pulled his bike to the bottom of the hill, he just the button and kept smashing the button, and nothing was happening. Craig was actually down there, and y'all sat there for a minute, and I don't know what you were doing, but
Well, it was turning over, but sounded kind of funky. So he said, I don't think it's going to fire up. So me and him and a couple other guys got off, pushed it over to the side, and bumped it off.
It was almost like he sat there and, like, I don't want to say he gave up, but it seemed like he sat there for maybe a lot longer than he did.
Yeah, it wasn't trying. It didn't sound like it had any cranking amps to the battery. It sounded like the battery was about half dead.
It just seemed like, to me, maybe assume the worst, and I think he pulled his goggles off, and then it was like, dawned on him, like, hey, let's try to bump this thing off, and y'all got it going, but
it fired right up.
He was there for a while.
It didn't sound like it wanted to even try to start.
And on the last lap, we were at the mud hole there. Would have been, what was that? Right behind the start. It was like 3.5, right before the 4. And Johnny had gone by, kind of like you were saying earlier, Tyler, with being right ahead of DeFeo. And just as soon as he went by, Timmy came walking out into the woods. And I didn't know if he was there for Ben or what he was, because he was like right behind Johnny, so I figured he might be trying to catch Johnny there. I said, hey, Timmy, I said, Johnny, you just missed Johnny. And he was like, yep, he's having bike issues. Starter motor went out. So I don't know if that was from the incident. I mean, obviously it happened there, or that's where the bike quit, but I don't know if the contact with Lyndon or with Jordan caused that, or if they had just been stalling out so much and the bike got hot and the motor got hot. And
dude, I've thrown my 350 down hills and it always fires right back up. So if it doesn't fire up for the first 5 seconds, he's probably like, oh shit, Mm-hmm. Because they always fire right back up. I don't care. All the new bikes seem to fire right back up even when they're hot. Yeah, wasn't super pumped. Took it over to the side, bumped it off, and motor sounded good. Took back off, and he was down quite a ways, but I guess they went to the pits and changed some stuff out, and all good.
So then I wonder how much more issue that ended up causing him throughout the rest of the race, because obviously he was able to stay on the lead lap and stay out in front.
Well, I'm thinking that he might have killed it somewhere and he had to bump it off himself. Because, I mean, if it wasn't firing, if the starter motor was bad, but obviously it still has enough cranking amps to, he could still get it the bump start. He must just killed it somewhere and had to go find somewhere else to bump it. And
I tell you what, I would not want to have to push that bike in the mud, try to find somewhere to bump it off.
That's probably what he was sitting there thinking when the battery's about half dead. He's like, oh, son of a bitch, this thing's going to be sitting here.
Yeah. But no, that was wild, dude. It was chaos, and even the lap before, I think that's when Toth hit the guy in the chair, because he was. You could kind of cut.
I saw his post about that.
You could kind of cut left and go up the far left side, and it kind of had a hole in it or something, and I guess that's when he hit that guy, because I looked over and saw him like halfway hanging off the hill holding his bike at the top.
Well, that's what I asked him. I said, dude, that line you hit, I was back there where Sipes was at getting people into the line. I said, that line you hit ended up being like a super easy line for everybody. He goes, yeah, but ain't that easy when you hit some dude with beer cans flying everywhere and you run right into him, you fall down the hill.
Yeah.
He said, I thought it was Big Tom. He said, then all of a sudden here comes Big Tom in the highlighter T-shirt saving my life. He's like, oh, I could have killed them guys.
So, but yeah, so he got screwed up on that lap, and there was a ton of guys. I think I helped Gus. They just, that one rut that everybody kept hitting, they kept getting stuck in. And
dude, that reminded me of John Penton last year, the Penton section, that everyone was like dying. Someone got hurt. Someone hurt their shoulder there last year, but just a gnarly section. It was pretty rough. It was way rougher. Obviously, if it was dry, it wouldn't have been nothing.
No.
But there's just giant holes in all the faces of the hill.
Yeah. I wish they would have ran that hill across the creek that the four-wheelers ran on Sunday.
They would have went right up. I don't know why they thought it was going to be that bad.
You think?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dirt bike climbing a hill way easier than a four-wheeler does.
The long hill that's normally the power point where they had it like marked off where your parents were standing?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't remember that hill at all. Like I've raced.
We've come down it like, so if you're looking at the hill and where the four-wheelers came down, we've gone up that part and then we come down further down the creek.
See,
Okay.
I always remember.
It was real rooty.
I know. Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I just never noticed the way they had him going up this year. I never noticed that until.
I've never remember going up that way either.
Huh. I still think they go right up it.
Or coming down it.
It almost looked like they had it set to where they were going to go down the hill just to the right of it and then turn around and come back up it because the ribbons was on the tree next to it going down.
So that's what they did for the four-wheelers.
Oh, okay.
Where all that red ribbon was.
Yeah.
It was the track.
Because they used to come down from alongside the creek and they'd run that whole creek section because there was like a jump coming out of it and then they'd come up and go straight up that hill.
Yeah.
But yeah, same thing. Like, and then all the way back, like all the clear cut stuff now. Like if you go through the parking lot, go all the way to the end and all the way down.
There's clear cut.
Oh, it's more like hurricane cut. But there's a ton of trees down and like logs cut. It was all by like the 8 and the 9 mile marker.
Okay.
So it's a lot more open than it's ever been. And all that stuff was cut off for the morning race. And I thought that was a whole section that would be put back in for the afternoon race, and it wasn't.
Oh, they said on the start line they put it back in. Or was that a different section?
They ran a portion of it down in there, but they definitely didn't run all of it. Because basically, like all of my camera shots that I had planned out, I would go to a spot and be sitting there waiting and then find out they weren't running it. And then I'd go to the next spot, be sitting there waiting, find out they weren't running it. And that was one of the spots. And that spot is hard to get to. Or it's not hard to get to, but it takes a long time to get to because you got to run all the way down the road. Speaking of which, if you haven't watched already, the YouTube highlights are up on our YouTube channel of the Big Buck GNCC. Make sure you go check it out.
Do you have any highlights of Zack Davidson on a CRF 250 trail bike?
I don't.
Dude, I saw that on the
fucking
start.
Sick.
And I looked at someone and I was like, is this guy serious? I had no idea it was Zach, and I was like, surely somebody didn't just sign up for that, like to start up front.
Yeah. Well, there's an XC2 rule. You have to get so many top somethings overall to run XC2, right?
Yeah, the wording on it is you have to get top 50s or top 100s to be eligible, but not required to. But their post that they ended up putting afterwards said that they just wanted to save the bike for Florida and didn't want to ruin it, so they put him on his dad's.
Yeah. But, dude, I seen it, and I was like, man, I don't know who that is, but they have to be halfway decent. Yeah. Obviously, but they're an XC2, but I was like, dude, no rando's just signing up. And I didn't notice his jersey, didn't even recognize him, didn't know he was doing it.
Yeah.
Then he comes out of turn 2, just absolutely dog walking, and I was like, yes. That's so sick.
Was that a Sunday morning decision? Had to be, right? Or like not Sunday morning, but like race time decision.
Yeah, game time.
Yeah.
I don't the way that they kind of wrote about it. I don't know. They were obviously planning it to some degree.
They must have had new tires and stuff on it. I mean, they must have had tires and bibs in it, or I'm assuming they didn't show up with no baloney ruins on it.
But that I don't get that because Zach's a hell of a mud rider. So why would he?
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Like why would he not ride in the mud?
I'm glad he did it.
I mean, it's cool.
I think it's
don't get me wrong.
Sweet.
I did see him on the last lap. That mud hole we were at for the morning.
Yeah.
I was standing there and he come by me and he looked up and I was like, "What's up, dude?" Because obviously at that point I'd heard who it was, and he had a big old grin on his face. And I don't know if he was just like, this guy probably thinks I'm an idiot and he's laughing at himself, or if he was actually having fun. But I pointed him right through this line that all the leaders were taking on regular race bikes, and he right up to no problem.
Probably going just as fast as what he would on a damn Husky race bike. I mean,
yeah, so
they're running half the speeds.
At one point, it was either the last lap or the 2-lap card lap, but I was out in the woods waiting kind of near that same area, and I see Patrick come walking through the woods with a battery. So I just started talking to him. I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, Zach told me he's back here somewhere with a dead battery, so I'm trying to find him."
He carry his phone with him?
I guess so. Either that or he stopped a spectator and asked for one.
You're on the trail bike and put it in your pockets.
Probably had a utility pouch on the back of that thing. Put it in there.
Dude, that's so dope.
Yeah, that's wild. But
I
mean, did he finish? I do think he was way down in the overall. I did look, but I don't know what he got in class.
So it looks like he finished 15th XC2. He did 3 laps. So that must have been until he ran out of battery. So the 2-lap card lap.
2 more than half the XC1.
Yeah. Let me see if I can check some lap times and see where he was running at before he went out.
It had to be a lot slower.
So lap 1 came through 17th with a 43.52, and then 17th again with a 140.50. So maybe that's where he lost the battery. And then 124 was his final lap. But that moved him into 15th, gained 2 spots.
I mean, was there 17 people in XC2?
There was 19. What happened to Mike DeLosa?
I got taken out in the start and wasn't having a great day. So he just
packed it up. Do you know what happened to Ricky's Triumph?
No, I didn't hear it. And that is one of the things coming into it. So he is still on the 250. I know that was one of the questions that got put up in the YouTube chat. So he is still riding the Triumph 250 until the 450s become available. But he looks like he's been riding that thing really well. So I'm not sure what happened. And out there, man, so many things happen to so many people. There's no telling. Obviously, conditions were pretty tough. But, yeah, I didn't hear what officially had happened.
He did have a big tank. We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
There was a big tank on the bike.
Oh, yeah.
Don't know that it was a Triumph big tank, but it was a big tank.
Another rider who was on it, I should pull up the lap times for him too, but Jordan Ashburn, obviously the more technical, the more gnarly it gets, Jordan Ashburn goes higher and higher up the prediction list. He was riding really well. Mm-hmm. He was riding up front, and then he was still battling and stuff, even with the time adjustments and all that. It was right alongside the road. I think it was like the 10, 11 mile mark where they're coming down like basically right in front of the finish line or the vendor row area back in that section. But as I actually got him on video coming in there, bike just steaming everywhere, smoking everywhere. And that's when he told his mechanic that I don't think this thing's going to make it. And he ended up not making it. But what a bummer for him because he was on his way to a really impressive ride to start the season too.
Yeah. Something we didn't even think about last week when we were talking is the weather conditions and throwing Jordan in the mix. And it was no surprise to see him up there. First time I saw him, I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
No. And that's what made the prediction so hard is because, dude, we could have went down that line and put Ricky on a 250 and the sloppy stuff. Like, he's from Washington. He likes riding in the mud. He's got a lighter bike. Like, you can go down the list, and any one of them dudes can do it. But to that point, too, when Craig DeLong was getting pulled out, I saw him and his mechanic pushing his bike out of the woods before he ended up getting a tow. I kind of asked him in passing what happened and just kind of shrugged. He looked pretty bummed about that. Liam made his way up to the lead. He was leading there at one point. He ended up having a mechanical. Stu didn't have a drop of coolant left in his bike. So just the mud, the conditions, the slow pace, getting stuck. I think it played a role in so many guys' day, and that was one of them. But it's also like freak things like that in those conditions, I mean, you can do preventative stuff and do what you can, but you can't prevent those mechanicals, as we saw by the entire field.
Dude, 450s get hot.
Yeah, and that's something that I wanted to bring up. I was talking to Tyler Palmer about it, and I was like, I wonder if that played a role into the overall podium that we saw, because the top 3 guys were on 250s, and I just wonder if that made a difference. One, easier is it for them at that level? Is it easier for them to ride it in the mud? And 2, is it obviously they do a little bit better lasting wise and not running as hot, but you're still running the dog piss out of them.
So I mean, getting ready to go to the line, like Toth, as I was leaving the Red Bear Kawasaki tent, kind of talked to him. I was like, man, 250 might be the choice to be on today. And that's what he looked at me and he was like, almost every single one of these GNCCs, it's the bike to be on. So I think, and to the point of like the overall and what we saw in the overall, maybe we've gotten to the point where the 250s have become more competitive to be on, because it's not like any parts of those sections where you need 65 horsepower out in the woods. I mean, Caleb went out and won on a 150. I think that proved right there that you don't need all the horsepower to win. And it seems like now that 250 technology has progressed so much, and like 250s of today are making the same horsepower as 450s 10 years ago. And so it's like they're not short on power by any means, but I think the rotating mass in the engine, you're getting a ton less weight as far as the crankshaft and everything goes. So they're a lot more nimble. And so it kind of leads you to believe like the XC1 bike of choice for people riding the brands that make a 350 has always been a 350. And it's always like that perfect mix between power and weight. That was in the time where the 250s were much more underpowered than the 450s. But now that the 250s are getting up in the horsepower range, like, do you think there'll ever be a time where we see some XC1 guys switching to a 250? Because you look at the top 5, 6 overall, they're all on 250s.
Mm-hmm.
The top 6 riders, 2 amateurs, and the rest pro. Well, besides Ben, who I believe is on a 350. But still, like, you look at all the 250s that are up in there. Grant Davis in the 8th spot, Cody Barnes in 9th, Jack Walker 12th, Brody in 13th. Like, there's a lot of 250s in the top 15.
Well, Fad won in 2012 at Unadilla, CRF 250 from XC1. And just if you watch like the outdoor moto, if there was a huge difference, if you had to be on the faster bike to be faster, outdoor moto, you would think, well, there's no way a 250 rider could be competitive lap time wise with a 450. But they are. Like, I mean, you see outdoor moto, Deegan, like, he's gnarly, obviously. His lap times can be compared to the top guys in 450, and his bike's slower.
Yeah. And, I mean, to that point, too, like, Caleb raced the first half of a season on a 250 and ended up winning a championship that year. And I know we've talked about it on the show, but, like, I don't know how many casual fans or people watching, like, really knew that year he was racing a 250 all year.
Yeah, because it was the same, the bike looked exactly the same as a 350.
Yeah, and he was winning. And so that's what, like, going into this year, like, I kind of asked him, like, jokingly, like, hey, you can be on a 250 or a 450. And he's like, 450, dude, XC1. And it seemed like, especially being on the Yamaha, and the Yamaha's making so much torque. Like, a lot of the 250s make all their power at the top, like the Cowie, the KTM, the Husky. Like, a lot of those bikes are making their power top where you got to rev them out, where the Yamaha makes the most torque out of the 250 class. So it seems like that would have suited his riding style. But hearing things through the pits, it seems like with the 450, his main focus has been pulling power out of it and kind of slowing it down a little bit just because of all that power in the woods.
One thing that here in the YouTube chat,
Hell yeah.
Nick Jones, whoever that is, said that Ricky broke a clutch fiber. So
That'll do it.
Shout out.
clutch got hot, use a clutch.
Went on a whole rant
break a
about
plate.
250s. That is one point. You got to use the clutch a lot more.
And there's a couple other things on here that are kind of interesting. Whoever this underfoot guy is, evidently he just found out about OTP.
Was that the guy talking about the subscribers?
Yeah,
Now he's commenting a lot.
Yeah, he's all up in here. So he said that he just found this channel. It has to be the best coverage, no cap.
No cap. With a K.
Take your hats off, brother.
But he also asked, he said, what tires are the top guys running for motors like this? Is that a top secret thing or no?
No, Rocky Mountains were running 32 Pirellis. And
Well, so Stu was on a scoop tire, and I meant to go back and look at some pictures of this, but DeFeo, I know for a fact, had a scoop tire on his bike in the pits, but they all had the Pirelli tire covers going to the line, so I didn't see what it was on the line. But I meant to go back and look at the pictures and see if DeFeo ended up running a scoop for the race or not.
Was that the reason for the tire covers, just to cover what tire they were running, or was it to keep the mud off the tire? Because I didn't even notice that Stu was running a scoop, and I could see him being the one that, I'm going to run a scoop and I'm going to cover it up so nobody sees this till we're on the line.
So the whole team had him, and so they switched to Pirelli this year. This is their first year on Pirelli. So to that point, I don't think that it was like a big top secret thing. I think it was more like new year, new budget. Pirelli gave us some tire covers. It's muddy. Let's keep the mud out of these tires as quick as we can to get a good start.
Well, and we were standing there with Toth right before the race. I think he was running, it looked like a 100 rear tire.
he said he likes 100s.
It looks so small. Yeah. So to answer this guy's question, I think the only thing it's gonna would be if it's a scoop or a regular tire. I don't think there's anything special. They're not getting special mud compounds or nothing. It's a production tire that I did notice. The guys on Dunlops were running. Most of them were running AT82s, and I seen a picture, and wasn't 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure Caleb had an 81 on. And if you know,
R.I.P.
you can't get those tires no more. Evidently, they're not making them. They're going with the 82. My opinion, the AT82 is nowhere near as good as the 81, and I think that's the opinion of some of the top level guys. And I think that has something to do with probably mainly budgets. Why there's not so many people running Dunlops, but I got a feeling that there's a lot of guys that didn't like the new Dunlop tires and really liked the 81, and when they discontinued it, they were bummed because the beta team's running Bridgestones, Stu's running Pirellis, somebody else was running Pirellis, maybe Phoenix. No, somebody else was running Pirellis that I was kind of surprised about. I can't remember.
Yeah, someone else did switch. I'm trying to think of that.
There's somebody else on Pirellis, but yeah, it was just interesting. But I'm about 90% sure Caleb had an 81 on. So I thought that was interesting.
And I did hear a lot of people that were on Dunlops talking about the 82 and the difference between the 81 and 82 and really not gelling with the 82 as well. But also, like, I don't think many people ever really ran an 82 front. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed, or an 81 front rather.
No. First opinion, dog shit. Them things are scary.
Which one?
81 front.
Oh yeah, they're not.
Those
good.
things scare me to death.
The only thing they're good for is to get a fire started.
Yeah.
So it seemed like the
smoke signals, brother. Dog shit.
Seemed like the choice was always like the
33 or
the
the
3X or the 32 or 33 front with the 81 rear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have an 82 rear on mine for Sumter and for Louisiana. I'll run it like the scoop way because you can do it either way. It's good for sand.
And I know, I do remember it seemed like another team, like you said, switched to Pirellis this year. I know the Enduro Engineering team, they're with Metzler, but the thing with Metzler and Pirelli is you can kind of pick and choose whether you want to run the Metzler or the Pirelli. So it opens up a couple more options that way. But as far as everyone else's tire choice, like that's one thing that, like in the heat of the moment when everything's starting to go, it's like more worried about trying to figure out where the heck I need to be at. But that is the interesting thing, is kind of walk down the line and see what tire choices everyone seems to be making, especially with so many brands and so many different, like Bridgestone. Like I don't really remember any teams running Bridgestone here in recent memory.
Not recently, but they used to be huge years ago in like Supercross and Motocross, and evidently those, like, that's the tire you had to be on. Like the top guys had to be on Bridgestones. But I remember when I first started racing, like 09, 2010, there was a guy at North Carolina's that sold them, and that's what I always ran. I always really liked them, and then they kind of like faded away, and you couldn't get them no more. And the ones you could get, like off Rocky Mountain or Motorsport, were stupid expensive. But I know I asked Josh about them when he first started riding them. I was like, dude, do you like these things? He's like, they're actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Dude, I'll tell you what else ain't that bad. Tusk. Tusk tires.
I was about to bring that up.
I had them on both my 200s, and I have a new set at the house that I can put on my next set of wheels. Son, not bad.
Underfoot. He just gave us $10.
I didn't even know that was possible.
You just got $10.
So we got to show feet pics now or what?
He
Thank
said,
you, Underfoot.
if I had a beer, I'd cheers him back.
Hey man, thank you. Appreciate it. I didn't even know you could do that. He was
Thanks,
he was just questioning our subscriber count, and now all of a sudden he's
go
fully
get us-
committed.
go
No
get us
cap.
12
Hey,
pack.
there we go.
Let's go get us a 12-pack now. $8.99.
Hey, man, shout out Underfoot. That's pretty cool.
Real quick, this Taylor Brown, he said, I know that Big Rig Craig's overall could be bought at any local farm store, but I've seen Big Tom in a JS7 shirt. When will that be for sale? So, yeah, Craig's setup came from Tractor Supply. The bush was optional.
Yeah.
That was where did I
I
say
had
that? There was a
bush can in each back pocket and one up front.
You were on the live feed pushing Johnny off, and you had a beer can sitting right here like a total fucking redneck. It was great.
Hell
I
yeah.
love it.
You get thirsty out in the woods sometimes.
But Tyler, that neon JS shirt, I don't know if they're selling those or not, but
I was supposed to make them, but they went a different route.
well, you sold your shirt business. How you gonna make them?
It was around that same time.
Well, okay, yeah. But no, they had bought them a couple years ago when they were on Cali and handing them out to people that were helping in the woods. I just so happened to still have mine. But go by the beta truck in Florida.
Hound him.
If you don't see Josh, find Cam. Tell her you want a shirt.
Yeah.
Tell her that you heard it on the Pipe podcast from Big Tom. And tell her you request a shirt.
Yeah, same thing with the bibs.
For you.
Go to Tractor Supply. Get you some Liberties. Maybe some Carhartts if you're feeling like you want to spend a little bit of money. Show up to Florida in the big rig overalls. Hell yeah.
That would be the move to make. I need to get some OTP branded overalls and bring to races like that. Sling them things.
Hell yeah. And then I'm just reading this YouTube chat because I think this is the most YouTube comments we've ever had.
Yeah, I know.
This is great.
It's cool to see like what people want to hear talked about too. So it's cool to kind of get some engagement that way.
Yeah, and Tom Mason, so he is from the Down Under. He's friends. Met him I met him with Mason Simmons at Motocross of Nations a couple years ago. And he was here. He raced a couple races here, hung out at the Oz Ranch for a while. He said, "Big Tom, Little Tom here." Lindo has been bitten by the love bug. Does that explain the exceptional performance? I tell you what.
Great question.
Being bit by the love bug is a lot better than the other bug that he has been bit by before.
I don't think the love bug carries Lyme disease as heavily.
But it could carry other ones. So
be careful about that.
I don't know if it's a love bug or the all-star pit crew he's got. I tell you what, if you want a good laugh, go back to those pre-race interviews and listen to Lyndon. They got a loose program, but hell, it's working. It's either that or the insane amount of pressure that you get riding for Todd Palmer. Because if you don't make that man happy, he will let you know it, I promise.
Got my hand in or what?
Can you hit that button again?
Oh, yeah. Tyler
Camera went out.
Uh-oh. There we go.
But yeah, I did see the new. I recognized most of the pit crew, but the love bug lady was new to the pit crew. This must have been her first race out there.
I don't know. I don't know who it is, but.
And I was talking to Lyndon a little bit and about some OTP sponsorship opportunities, and I was like, "Dude, you're gonna be on the podium one of these rounds here soon, and won't be able to talk about it." And he was like, "Oh, I think it'll be sooner rather than later." And he went out there and, by God, put it on the podium first round.
Made it happen. Hey, I tell you what, they built a good-looking motorcycle.
Yeah.
That thing looks sick. So.
They definitely got the bike promo videos down.
Yes, that was fantastic.
If you were following the OTP Instagram account, you got a sneak peek at the.
Did you share it?
All cheeked out, yeah.
Yeah.
I put it on the OTP page. Hilarious. One of the funniest things I've seen. I heard that they got some pictures that they're going to drop with it as well. But, yeah, I mean, Lyndon is a guy. We talk about silly season all season. We talk about guys that are out of jobs. We talk about guys that don't have contracts. We talk about guys that are ready to be signed. And all throughout the offseason, like, I was pretty heavy, like, probably the number one free agent, Lyndon Snodgrass. He ended the year on the podium. And he is a guy that on any given day he can win. And he is a guy that can be a podium guy. And he's young. He's hungry. He's had some health issues. He's battling back from that. And good for him, man, to go out there and prove that. He is a guy that I know for a fact called these teams, talked to a lot of people, tried to figure out what he could do to make it happen, even to the point where he was looking at deals to go out to the West Coast and go out racing because he couldn't find anything here. He ends up, Palmer obviously helping him out, and then he put together a lot of his own deals as well just to get what he could to go racing, and goes out there and turns the heads and puts it on the box in the very first round.
Yeah. I think if you wouldn't have had coffee on the beers before the race, might not have been in the top three. This is the big hype, down in the press box over there, and big Cody Smith holding on to it there, doing the interview.
And I tell you what, if Cody Smith is building that bike, that some bitch is bulletproof, because if you know Cody Smith, he warms his bikes up, pulls them out in the middle of the wintertime, cranks it wide open, bouncing off the rev limiter for I'm not saying is I mean for minutes.
The resale for these Huskies just went out the window.
He's like, all right, boys, she's good and ready. And I've been with him up at Brown. This is a funny story. We were up at Brown Mountain one time. He was riding a Honda, and we were riding some super gnarly trail. The Johnson boys were there. There was a big group of us. It might have been a Thanksgiving ride. And Cody's bike wasn't overheating. And everybody else's bike's overheating, dumping coolant. Somebody asked Cody, said, Cody, why ain't your bike overheating? He said, can't blow out what it ain't got. And everybody kind of looked at him and he's like, we're like, what are you talking about? And he said, I boiled the coolant out of this thing 2 years ago and never put any back in it. I ain't had a problem since.
He said, it's a Honda. It ain't going to blow up.
And he was dead serious. Dead serious.
Hey man, bikes were air cooled for decades. If they could do it with air cooling back then, why can't they do it now?
Dude, it's wild. I love it. Yeah, I think they throwing the piston in this week. He said he's going to go ahead and do a water pump and get ready for Florida.
Straight back to the races.
Oh, Tom's back on his side. Oh, a full gas sprint enduro win to Cody Smith. So he's a legend. He's a quiet legend around the Denver parts.
No, he's a homie.
He is a homie.
I guess so. One of the things too, and just kind of jumping around subjects here. At the beginning, I was flustered on seeing if this whole thing was even going to work.
The Stevens question, that's a good one. We need to talk about that.
Yeah. I did want to. Stephen Falzone, been talking to him quite a bit here lately. Might be a new member of OTP. We're trying to work out the details to bring up some of the digital side of things. So
Homies.
Yeah, great question from Stephen. The one thing I want to talk about real quick to get into the mix is obviously big guy on the radar, big person coming into it, big guy that we talked about coming into this one, Caleb Russell. It's finally official. I think after seeing the Yamaha stuff, after going down there and filming, after seeing him in person, after hearing the rumors for so long, I can now finally believe that Caleb Russell is back to GNCC racing. It took seeing him out on a racetrack to see it, and we all got our group chat that we were going through, and off the start is like a mid-pack start. If you look at my video, me and Caleb pretty much bumped elbows on the start. My bad about that, Caleb. I didn't see him coming. I was following the guys around. Next thing I know, I feel like something go across my shoulder. And if you look back at the video, like as close as you can get. But yeah, like a mid-pack start, we go around to that hill that ended up getting turned off or shut down, and Caleb is the first one out. So say in the group chat, like just giving updates like at front, and then all of a sudden next time I see him back in like 4th or 5th spot. But one thing going into that is he lost his right front fork guard, or it was hanging off by the time they went into the woods. So got together with somebody in one of the corners, lost that fork guard, and then from what I heard, and I think he even alluded to it in the comments, it seems like he might have went ass over tea kettle shortly after he got into the lead. I guess he went into a hole, front end stuck, goes over the bars, bike lands on top of him. He said in an interview somewhere that he tweaked his knee on that first lap and dealing with it. But I wonder what those expectations are like coming from that one, just because that was such a crapshoot. You know what I mean? Like everyone, a lot of bikes blew up, a lot of difference in the overalls. But yeah, I guess the what you guys thought about as far as like seeing him back out on the track and seeing where it goes from here.
He's definitely still fast. I mean, you come around. I mean, I think he was like mid-pack off the start, and he came through him and Liam 1 and 2 when I seen him. I was like, son of a bitch, there he goes. I was very surprised.
I will say, because I was right there at that first time we saw him again. He came through and Liam, they were 1-2, and I was like, I looked at somebody, I was like, where was Caleb on the start? And because I thought he was way back, and they were like, yeah, he was, 4th or 5th. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But it was kind of like a split moment there where he came around leading, and I was like,
oh shit.
Oh boy, here we go again. But it didn't happen. I just want to say that.
I seen in the comments
right.
too. I want to between Stu and Caleb. Caleb's
Yeah.
like they're talking chatting back and forth, and Stu had a front row seat and watched him eat shit.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, that did not look good.
No, but I mean, to be honest, I even being muddy, like we talked about it last week. That's kind of I keep going out of focus. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
It's just a super tight lens on that camera.
We talked about it last week, and the first race back, it's kind of where I expected him to be. I mean, whatever he got overall, like 15th or 16th?
14th overall for a $250 payout.
Hell yeah.
That's a little bit further back than I thought. 14th overall. I wouldn't expect him to be that far back in the overall, but
Let me ask you.
around fifth in XC2 or XC1 is. I mean, I think if it would have been dry, that's probably about where he would have been.
And one of the things that we talked about too is like the difference since he's been gone. He's been gone 4 seasons. There's a lot that's happened in 4 seasons. What do you think would have been the thought process if him coming back? You say, yeah, dude, you'll get a top 5 in XC1, 14th place overall.
He probably wouldn't like to hear that.
Yeah.
But hell, it's reality now. So it's like, even it was a motor race, but it's still got to be a gut check to him. Like, these boys are fast, and it's not just XC1 that's fast. It's 250A and especially XC2.
Yeah, and getting kind of the Stevens question. I think the mud is definitely an equalizer, especially like I don't think if this was a perfectly dry and dusty Big Buck, it would have been the exact same. And like last year, we seen obviously Toth and Grant Davis get overalls from XC2.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's a lot faster. Toth obviously has been in XC1, back in XC2 right now because he took a year or two to go do his own thing. And I think the XC1 boys and the XC2 crowd's damn near pretty close. Just talking about 250s and 450s being pretty close in the woods, I think.
Yeah, and all the top 250 guys, XC2 guys now are riding with an XC1 guy.
Yeah.
Whether it's Gus riding with Lyndon and Josh, or
even JoJo's down here right now, and he's riding with Mike.
Yeah, and Grant Davis and Tino riding with Craig and Ben and Johnny.
Yeah.
And it's like, of course they're going to be at that level because they're chasing those guys around during the week all the time. So, that being said, I think what's going to be more impressive than the XC2 guys is how high the 250A guys can consistently finish throughout this year. Because it's just like you said, JoJo riding with
Wachowski.
Wachowski. I don't know where I was going with this, but they're going. I mean, JoJo should be an XC2, realistically.
Yeah, I think he'd like to be.
Should have been up there a season or two ago.
What do you mean he would like to be? Is that not his choice? This is what?
I mean, I think these guys get contracts offered to him. I think if Phoenix would have said, yeah, here's your XC2 ride, he'd said, okay, cool. But they obviously want a 250A rider.
Well,
and so it's ironic, too, because going to
Phoenix.
Yeah, well, going to Phoenix, but what I was saying is we were standing there going somewhere, and I was talking with Eric Geese, and Cody Barnes walked by. And he asked Cody, he's like, hey, are you on a 450 at the sprints? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, I'd like to be here. So it's like Cody Barnes is another guy that seems like he wants to be on a 450 in the XC1 class, and then JoJo in the 250A class again. And, I mean, he was in 250A, 2017, 2018?
Barnes?
Somewhere in there? No, JoJo.
What
year did he win all of his?
18, 19.
Because it was around the time when like Brody Johnson was winning top AMs, and then JoJo I think won some top AM.
He rode
2,
1B class at John Penton, then he goes up to run A lights and was top 3.
Yeah. So back to those like contract structuring, and it's so weird too that we're seeing like less contract. Like this year Husqvarna's bringing a semi out there for Craig DeLong and Corey Steed. And you see some of the other jobs that seem to be going away, but then you're looking at the other plate. Like Phoenix was one of the teams that we talked about the last couple of years where they had only XC2 riders. Like they didn't even have an XC1 rider. And so now it's like, how do you get in that predicament where you got a guy wanting to be XC2 but he's in 250A? You got a guy wanting to be XC1 but he's in XC2. I wonder what goes into that from a marketing standpoint, from a brand standpoint.
Well, I'm sure a lot of it has to do with what bikes the team's given. That probably has the most to do with it when you think about it. Like, if Honda comes up to Phoenix and says, hey, we're going to give you 5 CRF 450s for the year. Well, you can't have 2 XC1 guys with 5 bikes.
Yeah.
And they might say, hey, we're going to give you 15 250s. Well,
surely that's not what's holding it back, especially with Cody Barnes, what he's doing at the sprints, and then having Wachowski and him both in XC1, and then for JoJo, I mean, it'd be on 250 either way.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know, but I would assume that it probably has a lot to do with it. It's more than you think. I would think. But
it is interesting.
Anyway, back to what I was saying. It's like, if those 250A guys keep doing it, and we saw T-Rex do it last year.
Yeah.
It's
I do think it's awesome, the XC2 guys, top 3 overall. But they're all pros. You know what I mean? So it is very surprising. I think the biggest surprise was having the 250A guys so far up.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. An XC2 guy winning by 3.5 minutes
it's sick.
was quite the surprise.
It's gnarly. Very big surprise. But, I mean, they are all pros. So it was cool seeing JoJo, who was not running XC2 or XC1, in a top 5 whenever more than the time it's XC1 in the top 7 overall.
Yeah.
Like, you see that a lot.
And, I mean, that is really impressive, especially that both of them were so close to each other in those spots.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Like, we saw T-Rex run in the top 5. Like, I think he was in the overall lead at one of the races last year for, like, a lap or two. But now he moves up to the XC2 row, and the A-classes all kind of shift between 4-stroke A, 250A, Open A. So sometimes you're behind 2 rows, and you got to get through them. And sometimes you're on the front row, and you got to get through the back half of XC2. But now he's got none of that traffic, especially when he goes out there and hole shots the XC2 row. Then he's got zero traffic to just run and sprint and catch up to them. But the one thing that I kept thinking about throughout this whole thing, and obviously working close alongside the Red Bear team, with Stu and the team, and doing the social stuff and filming and doing all that stuff, like hanging out with these guys all weekend. And then when you're out looking for those bikes and you see them coming through the woods first, like one thing I kept thinking throughout the weekend, or throughout the race rather, is once he started moving up and he got into the overall lead, and then he physically got into the overall lead, and then he got a minute up, then he got 2 minutes up, then he was 3 minutes up. Like, what the hell if you guys were a 19-year-old kid that just got signed to another factory team, your XC2 debut year, what is going through your mind when you know there's 2 laps to go and every single person is behind you? Like, how do you manage that as a 19-year-old, your first year as a pro?
Cha-ching. Cowie payday, brother.
Cha-ching.
Head of the Chuck E. Cheese.
He was Waffle House. He's a big Waffle House guy. Yes, what it evidently
seems to be the running thing.
I think we know. He just commented what I was going to have for dinner.
Shout out Nick. I just led this whole entire build up into it, and here he is.
He just was thinking of what he's having for dinner.
I was trying to get these guys' opinions.
Let's see what it was.
I was ready for some thoughtful, thought out response from you guys about what could be going on, and here the guy that actually did it, he was just thinking about Waffle House and pancakes.
This I just asked him what it was. What did he get for dinner? Hey, but I meant to bring this up earlier when when the Johnny thing happened. That's when DeFeo went to the lead. So it was Ashburn, Johnny, and then DeFeo came by and took that line that I was telling you that what Sipe said, and went up the hill and went right by him. And then Stu came right behind him. So not only did that take out Johnny out of the race. Lyndon got stuck. Ashburn got stuck. That's where DeFeo went to the lead at.
Yeah.
And that was on lap 3.
You want to know another crazy dynamic
I was
about
right.
this whole thing?
Waffle House.
Now that we have Nick DeFeo in the chat with us and he can defend himself, I wish that I knew this whole setup a little bit better and we could put a FaceTime with Nick live on here. But I think I would break the entire system if we tried that. But we talk about Nick DeFeo, the guy of the weekend, 3.5-minute win. Friday, Nick DeFeo's a guy that had media training. And Friday he goes up on the podium and says, they ask him about his bike, and he said, yeah, I'm really not comfortable with it yet. Like, still working on it, trying to figure out what's going on. It'd be happy, or hopefully we can compete for wins. But, like, the key point of that, which ended up being brought back up later to him, was him saying he wasn't comfortable on the bike yet. If you're not comfortable on the bike, and you get out of the physical lead and you win by 3.5 minutes, what the hell is going to happen when he is comfortable on the bike? And I think after this weekend, I think it's safe to say he's pretty comfortable on that KX 250F X. KXF.
Yeah, you looked pretty comfortable when he passed me. Looks solid.
Yeah. Yeah, were you on the track racing?
Racing coolers, brother.
P1 and what was it?
P1 and
Spectator 25 plus.
A class.
Spectator A.
Spectator A 25 plus.
That was funny. I cracked up at that. I did run into Grant and Baylor.
Zach.
I'm drawing a blank. Brooke out on the track, and Nick came by.
Brooke Cosner.
Yeah, she's back with pink hair.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it. But
did you tell Grant that when you saw him?
no, but I should have.
Yeah, take that hat off and show him yours. See what she thinks.
Yeah, it's standard issue color, stock color.
Yeah.
But I asked Grant. He DeFeo went by leading, and when he came by us, he was way gone. We were standing there, and I was like, dude, I knew the kid was gonna be good, but did y'all expect this riding with him? He was like, this? No. But he is a really good motor rider. And
New England guy.
well, yeah, but hell, he lives at Myrtle Beach now. Myrtle Beach.
Oh, is he from New England?
Yeah, he's from Connecticut.
I didn't know that till this weekend, and a bunch of guys were
shit.
commenting on that.
Huh.
Open cooler class. I like that, Scott. Hell yeah.
But he's only been in Myrtle Beach for a couple of years, so he's still got that Connecticut in him. To that point, we got some good questions popping up here in the YouTube chat. We did allude to Stephen Falzone's question. We're gonna go back up to it. Just want to get it out there. We kind of hit on it, but he says, I know the mud had led to precautionary riding last weekend, but do you think XC1 guys are going to put them on the pipe on the opening laps to hold off these XC2 guys?
I think they're going to have to.
Well, that is an excellent thing, because if you are an XC1 guy, how do you manage this problem? And I think at this point it's safe to say that it is a problem, because these dudes are getting up to the back half of them, and they ran the interview with Grant Davis several times where he kind of, I don't want to say called out Stu, because he wasn't calling him out, but he did say, like, a guy like Stu notoriously doesn't get the best starts.
Mm-hmm.
But a guy like Stu notoriously finds his way up front. So he was saying if we can put down a sprint in that first lap, catch the back half of XC1, latch onto a guy like Stu, who could be in the back of the pack from the start, and you know that he's going to the front, so you jump in with him, go to the front, and if you're within sight, you're beating him. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what can these XC1 guys do? Can they find a way, these XC1 guys, can they find a way to put on a heavy sprint at the beginning? Because we kind of went from the days where everything was like 70% till the last 2 laps, and then it turns to 100. And now that sprint speed has gotten up a little bit higher and higher each year, but now it's at the point it's like these guys are breaking trail. And especially in a situation like this, we talked about Caleb going in a hole, going over the bars. We talked about Lee or whoever else going up the hill and not finding a good line. So it's like those guys are breaking in the track. They got to find everything first. But now they're at the point where they can't afford to kind of play it safe, and you get in that lead pack and you know no one's going away from each other. So I think in years past, as long as they could stay in that pack, they know they have a chance to charge and a chance to break away there at the end, and that there's no need to rush. Now you got a whole second line, and now even third, fourth, fifth line that are creeping into that overall where you don't have the benefit of kind of relaxing around the people that are with you physically, because you know that those guys got a minute, 2 minute, minute and a half, whatever the times are, to their advantage, where you don't have to see them for them to be beating you. What do these XC1 guys do to stop this from happening?
There ain't a whole lot you can do. I mean, those guys in the XC2 were, I mean, obviously they're fast, 1, 2, and 3 overall this weekend. I mean, make one line. Make everybody mad. Put them all together.
I think the only thing they can do is start sprinting from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, you got a minute in between. I mean, what else do you do?
Yeah, and I know last year was a big debate was if they were even starting a minute out or not. And I think they made a point to go back, like, after that got brought up, they made a point to not start the XC2 class within less than a minute. And if you go back and look on the live feed, it's like right on a minute that they start. And, I mean, that's just, you know, you could make it, if you made it one line, one class, what would that, would they all ride big bikes? Or would the XC2 class ride, would it still be an XC2 class, just start on the same class? Because that would just make it even worse.
I feel like I'm going to get so much heat for, obviously, this, because there's bonuses. Everyone's getting paid. Like, XC2 gets paid a certain amount. Good stepping stone class to get into the pros. But obviously, with the issue you have now, with XC2 catching XC1, I mean, you can't, what are you supposed to do? Give them more time? No. You know, you got to start everybody a minute, you know, make it fair for everybody. And if they're catching them, I mean, it's just, they're faster on the day.
We've talked about this, but I think giving them more time, and I think you might have been here when we were downstairs. You give them more time, it's just going to give them more of an advantage.
Yeah.
I think
that's the case too. I think that minute gap is already too much, because it's tough. Like, say, look at this past weekend. Say that Jordan's bike didn't blow up and DeFeo gets out front. If that 2-lap card comes out, Jordan knows he has to pass T-Rex physically and drop him by a minute. Like, I think, and Tom, like you mentioned, we talked about it before, people were talking about making the gap even bigger. I think that would be the worst thing that you can do, because those XC2 guys are still going to make that gap up to XC1 at some point. They're just going to do it a little bit later, and then from there, they got 2 minutes to play with. So then you get to the end of a race, there's no chance you're dropping a guy that caught you in that same race. There's no chance you're putting 2 minutes on him throughout the rest of the race.
Yeah.
And so it's like almost like you fire them off even shorter, like 30 seconds,
yeah,
or
then they're just going to catch up. Then they just catch up in 30 seconds. So I mean, what it comes down to is the XC1 class needs to step this shit up and start getting on the gas, just like Steven said, get on the pipe.
But I mean, that's the tricky part of it. Is they would catch them quicker, but it's easier to drop 15 to 30 seconds than it is to drop a minute. So if they do catch them, those XC1 guys can still put the hammer down and get away on that time adjustment. But you mentioned everyone starting on the same road. That was my suggestion. Like when we were talking with Strang before the rules meeting, and he was kind of talking about the gaps. It's like I think that's the solution. Especially, you look at 50 years of GNCC racing, and what is it, 18 years of XC2 racing, 16 years, whatever it is. You never saw an XC2 winner until last year. Now there's been 4. And now you got A-class guys in the top 5. So I think the solution is it used to be so out of whack when you looked at the classes. You'd have 6 XC1 guys, and you'd have 40 XC2 guys.
Yeah.
But now it's relatively even. Like, a lot of guys have moved up into XC1, and a lot of XC2 guys have moved out of XC2, ironically. But it's like, I think that the only solution, or not the only solution, but I think a solution at this point is to put them all on the same line, still separate them by class, like have XC2 and have XC1, but they're all pro riders, and so start them all on the same line together as pro riders and let them sort it out.
I mean, really, I think what it comes down to is maybe it's just where the series and the sport is now, is that there's more good people. Like, the 250A, the XC2 guys, like, they're damn good riders, and maybe everybody's going such a fast pace and a high speed that they can't go any faster. And I don't know.
I'd like to talk to like 4 or 5 of the guys in the front row and just see, because obviously I'm not an XC1 rider, never will be an XC2 rider. So whenever we're talking about these gaps and what they should do, it'd be nice to, because I've never, and I don't know how many of you've talked to about it, Tyler, but it'd be nice to know what Toth thinks, what Johnny G thinks, what BK and Craig, like, because maybe they're like, well, maybe they just don't care. They don't care if they're on the same row, if there's no XC2 class, if you got a 15, 20 rider pro row every weekend. I mean, I don't know what they want to do, but if the XC2's catching them, I think they should all be in the same class. Like, obviously, DeFeo's 19, 18, 20, whatever he is.
19.
So if he's catching them, just like Grant Davis was last year, they should be in the same class. In my unprofessional opinion, I'm not those guys, and I know they're making money being an XC2 and this and taking their steps to get to where the top is, just like 250 motocross to 450. But whenever they race all in the same, together, I don't know what the best thing to do is, but I don't feel, I don't know what those guys want to do. I've never heard any of them speak on it.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but to your point, when you, what was your point? I forgot.
Which one?
Everyone's getting faster.
It was something important.
Same row.
Anyway, I forgot. There was something I was going to come back on your. But Joyce Riddle just texted me, who is Brody Johnson, Jonathan Johnson's mom, and the faster brother, Taylor Johnson. But at least I think. They're all the same family. They're brothers. I don't know the dynamic. Anyway, she texted me and made a good point that I haven't really thought about is what if you rotate XC1 and XC2 just like you rotate the A classes, you rotate the B classes where each week it changes. So then, like going into Florida, XC2 would start on the front row, XC1 would start in the back. The only issue that I see with that is the back half of XC2 is a much bigger gap from the front to the back than the back half of XC1. So it would be a lot of traffic for XC1 starting behind XC2.
How many of the XC2 guys are consistently getting? Is there like 4 of them? Like is, Grant, let's say Toth would probably do it this year. DeFeo obviously just did it. Was Barnes and Gus and everybody. Was it?
Yeah, so
they got matched up quick. Into the first lap, into the second lap, it was pretty tight.
Right now, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 XC2 riders in the top 20.
I don't like Joyce's idea. Not a fan. Because how you gonna do opening ceremonies? You gonna say? Are you going to line up your XC2 class on the front row and introduce XC1 and they're going to ride around everybody to the second row?
I didn't think about that either.
No. They would never go for that. Here's another problem that I was thinking about. They made the XC2 class to split up the front row because I think at one point there was like...
Huge.
It'd be like 40 people on the front.
Yeah,
Maybe
early
not 40,
2000s,
but
it
like
was big.
A lot. And they split that up because there were probably riders, top level XC1 riders, complaining about
Open A guys being in the pro row.
Well, or Open A or guys that didn't need to be on that front row being there and getting in the way and being dangerous or whatever. So they made the XC2 class. Well, then there were XC1 guys complaining that they were starting XC2 too close, which is your point. Starting them at less than a minute. And so now they've made it a point to give them a minute, which is how off-road racing has always been. A minute between each row. And GNCC doesn't even do that past XC3. I don't even know that they give XC3. I think the gap between XC2 and XC3 is 30 seconds. And I know between the classes back from that, it's 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Now, part of that is because maybe not so much in the 1 o'clock race, but the 10 a.m. race, they have so many classes. If they don't do that, the leaders are coming through before they finish. I don't think that's as big of a deal in the afternoon. But they still start them. You start a lot closer than you used to. But I think I think what needs to happen is the XC1 guys need to step it up.
An unpopular opinion is going to be the guys, like if they do, a couple years ago they did something that if an XC2 guy consistently got in, was it the top 10 or the top 5 overall? Have they ever done that? Like the XC2 guys aren't going to like that, maybe, if they don't want to go up. But if there's a guy like Grant last year, had a lot of top 3s, he had an overall win, they might say, all right, well, you got an overall win from XC2, bump. Like,
That's how amateur classes work.
so I can see where money-wise, just, looking at it as a rider, if I was trying to get the most money I could and they wanted to dominate XC2 or they wanted to stay consistently top 3s and make money, I can see where some people want to do that. But I'm assuming all the XC2 guys want to be in XC1. They just want to make sure they're ready. But if you're, Grant Davis and you're getting an overall, which I actually heard that he wanted to go to XC1 this year by a couple people, and I didn't hear him say it, but KTM wanted them to be in XC2 again.
I heard him say it.
Okay, so you heard him say it.
Yeah.
So, bump them up. If they're getting in the top 5 overall, if they're getting in the top 10 overall, you're a top 10 rider, XC1, front row.
So
how do you do that in the middle of the season?
Maybe you don't do it middle of the season,
so
but all the guys who did it last year would have already been bumped up.
So do you put JoJo in XC1? From 258 to XC1?
Maybe you do if you did it 3 times in the year before.
From one mud race?
Well, if you do it 3 times in 1 year, maybe, then yes.
I think if you're top 10 in points overall, you have to run XC1. No, you don't. Never mind.
No.
So
you have to be in XC2.
Yeah, do like a three round thing, or if you get in the top 10 for 3 rounds in the season, you're front row.
But then you're going to run into the situations like we just talked about with that in the B class. People are just going to be holding themselves back. If they're running in that spot, they're going to get a pit board, say, we need 30 seconds.
But you know what? They're not going to do that if they're fighting with somebody else that's running that same speed. They're not going to pull.
Isn't the main goal to be an XC1 Pro, though, correct? Like, if that was me,
it is.
Put money aside, top goal is to be an XC1 Pro. If I am an Open A or a 250A rider, and this year, if I'm JoJo, I get a 5th overall, I get a 9th overall in John Penton, and I get a 6th overall at Ironman. Bump.
Okay, who's going to give him a bike to ride XC1? That's going to be your problem. And then JoJo's mandated to be an XC1 with no factory support. And he's doing it out of his own pocket.
So the thing I don't like
that's
about
what'll happen.
Maybe you should. If you're a top 10 overall guy, maybe you should be in the pro class.
And to that, if you're already getting in the top 5 overall, you can probably stay on your 250 and you're still going to be good. But I don't like the thought of promoting mid-season because the goal is
you can't do that.
The goal is championships, and
so that's not what did not mean mid-season, just next season.
Yeah, I can understand that, and that's how all the other classes work. Like C class, if you win, I think it's like 2 races in your top 3 in points in C class, you're promoted to B. Mm-hmm. And B class, if you win 2 races in your top 3 in points, you're promoted to A. That's just how it goes. But in off-road, there is no pro class. Like, there's no such thing as an off-road pro rider. There's GNCC rules that say XC1 guys that finish top 10 in points can't go race in A class. Actually, I think it still says they could race a age class. So, I think Strang could go race Vet A if he wanted to. Because the off-road segment of the AMA doesn't recognize a pro off-road racer.
He can't because he's a past champion.
Good point. One of the many. The most past champions we've ever seen racing each other.
Before we go ahead.
I do just want to get past one thing. We have the points champion, the white plate holder, in the chat with us. He said, and I've already had an internal dialogue with this in my head.
I thought about the same thing.
Yeah, so my first thought, Nick DeFeo pops in the chat and says, make every start like snowshoe. My first thought process is, you can't do that. You can't fire people off every 10 seconds. You can't line people up by 5s. You're going to need 4 football fields. But in timing to discuss this, we talked about rotating the rows. We talked about the drawbacks of that. What if there was a hybrid type of thing where, yeah, that's what I was getting to is, and like I said, I've been having this debate in my head this whole time, but maybe that is the solution. Maybe you can find a way where you take your top 20. Let's say top 10 or top 20. XC1, XC2 combined. You give those riders introductions. If you're an XC2 rider good enough to make it into the top 10, top 20, you deserve an introduction. You deserve to get your sponsors out there. And then you put those guys on the front row and everybody else on the second row. And then it kind of puts everyone that's in the mix in the mix. And then if someone then jumps up from the second row, I think then we're going to be back to the pre-2023 season where it's not going to happen very often.
I think, and actually before Nick put that in there, I was thinking about when Joyce brought up the switching. That, say you did top 10, top 15, whatever, however many people, have them start, like you just said, both classes on the front row, everybody else in the second class. That would create a pretty wild dynamic if you just think about it, say you finished 10th at round 1 overall. Caleb Russell finished 14th at round 1 overall. Caleb's on the second row. Who was 10th?
Wilkowski.
Who was the lowest top 10 XC2 guy?
Cody Barnes.
Cody Barnes. So now Cody Barnes has Caleb Russell starting behind him and coming like a bat out of hell on the first lap through those guys. Like that would be a very interesting, like I said, dynamic. It would be pretty wild.
That seems like the most.
Because I tell you what, at Florida, there would be some freaking killers on the second row. Stu, Johnny, Caleb, Strang, Ricky, Thad. Just imagine them freight training from damn second row.
And them getting to use that minute advantage to sneak up on people.
Yeah, that would be cool. I would say if they could or if they would change it, that would probably be the way to do it. Is do it by overall points. But then you throw the 258 guys in there, you can't have a 258 guy start on the first row.
Why can't you? If they're running up there in the top, then let them run up there with the top guys. Especially when you got so many of. I mean, looking through the overall results too, like Caleb Wood, it was his big bike debut, his first race in the 3-hour, won 4-stroke A by like 16 minutes, 19th overall. So his big bike debut, he scores overall points in the top 20. But same thing, like I think that if JoJo can get in the top 5 and Gavin can get in the top 10, and who is our Lane Whitmer, like if those guys can run up there and get to that point where they're on the front row, I think that changes the whole dynamic. The thing that would be bad about the amateurs that you would have to look out for is that is a huge advantage to have a 250A guy starting on 2 and the next 250A guy is starting on 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe just make it XC1 and XC2 for the overall. I mean, if that's. I'm saying keep the amateurs out of the idea of the top 20 overall.
I think you'd have to.
Do we need an XC3 class? Like the 125 thing. Let's take all these A class kids that are almost make XC3 like a AA Pro-Am class. Where it's like
it is a Pro-Am class.
I know it's a Pro-Am class, but it's a Pro-Am class you have to ride a 125 in. Like, if you take these top-tier 250A guys or the Open A guys, like these guys that are routinely on the top-end podium, like, what if that was a stepping stone class to bridge that gap between amateur to pro a little bit better than 250A to XC2? Because there's really not a whole lot of people in XC3. And by the end of the year, I mean, there was like 3 people lining up.
Easy, brother. There's at least 4 because our buddy got 3rd.
Who got 3rd?
Be good to Mr. Simpson.
Yeah. Dirt Bike Jesus.
Yeah, I ran
Shout
some
out
people
Dustin
last year.
Simpson. But no, it's a tough. And then also, so this is one thing I was thinking about too, is when you start looking at the big picture and you start thinking about these XC2 guys and you think about what they did this past weekend, one of the things that came down to the championship, who won it last year? Johnny. The year before was Stu had more XC1 points than Craig DeLong, but Craig DeLong had more overall points than Stu. And so Craig was the overall champion, or he was the XC1 champion because he had more overall points, even though Stu had more class points. And then you look at XC2 that same exact year, Gus had more overall points, but Liam Draper had more class points, so he was the XC2 champion. So it's like the same exact rule flopped both of the pro classes, where an overall points was awarded for XC1, but an overall points wasn't awarded for XC2. So then you look forward into this season, there used to be two number one plates. So you would get the overall champion and the XC1 champion. They were separate. Now that is no longer the case. And the rules read that XC1 points will be classed on the overall finishing position of the overall finishing points, and it says the XC2 class will be based off of class points. So now that we're in this world where the XC2 guys are the ones that are winning races and sweeping the podium, what happens if a Josh Toth, if a Nick DeFeo, if a Grant Davis is on the podium and wins out all these races? What if we don't see an XC1 guy win a race all season and an XC2 rider has more overall points? The way that the rules are written, they would not be the overall champion. So how does that whole thing come about?
I don't know. That's a rabbit hole you could go down.
It is, but dude, look at the last year of racing. Like, it's not impossible. Grant Davis clicked off 2. DeFeo wins 1 by 3.5 minutes.
1 row.
It could happen. But then the way that it's written is that the overall championship is based, or the XC1 championship is based off of overall points. But if an XC2 rider scores more overall points, they technically wouldn't be the overall champion. And then what do we do?
1 row.
There's rabbit holes to go down.
I don't have an answer for
that. It's something I had in the notes, but like it's something that very realistically could come up.
You know what would be cool is if DeFeo had a special plate for
like a purple one, just
something, no, but something different to where it's not white and green or I don't know. It'd be cool if he had some type of different number plate for the XC2 being an overall leader. That would be pretty cool.
Needs a couple dollar signs on that thing.
Underfoot says all the XC3 guys look 6'3" and string beans. Hell yeah.
He must know Dustin too.
There might be something to that because Nick just commented back and said working on it. I don't know if
working on a special plate or working on how you can become overall champion.
Dollar signs, brother. Big Cowie bonus.
Nick's listening. We need to get him on the phone.
Nick, if you're listening, call us. Call me.
He is listening. He's damn blowing up the chat.
Well, yeah, he is on here. I can't get you on FaceTime, but I can hold you up to the speaker.
I'll do this right here.
If you can find the camera.
Easy now.
It's that one.
Easy.
Or wait,
now
it's that one.
It'll go
it's
out of focus.
It will go out of focus. Let me see. Was there anything else in the notes that we missed? What, dude? We got on a whole rabbit hole with that, but like all of this stuff, like it's crazy that we're 1 round in and there are these many things going on that, like, this is gonna be a crazy season.
Hey, I did have a question. I think it was last lap whenever I was watching the amateur or the morning race. So obviously Rachel was up front, and I seen it was Brandy and Corey going back and forth, second and third. And then I'd never seen where Shelby Turner passed both of them. Like, she was like a minute or 2 back when I seen. So I don't know if they both got stuck or something crazy happened.
She came through that mud hole behind the start we're at. She came through on the last lap ahead of it was Archer, Shelby Turner, and she absolutely sunk her bike in that mud hole and got it out. And then Brandy came through, and we had pointed her to another line that developed to the right, kind of crossed that ditch, and it was Rudy. Man, she must have been tired because she struggled bad. But yeah, she was ahead then. So
Yeah, that was. I swear that was on the white flag or the.
and you
the
know what?
almost white flag.
And Corey was in third at that point.
Mm.
So Brandy had dropped back because she was running second or third.
I seen him.
I don't
I was at the 4, and then I was at the 6, and they'd flipped. Corey was up front. Well, Corey was ahead of Brandy. Then they switched, and I thought Shelby was like a minute or so behind. So that was cool that she caught up in the last lap.
Did anybody hear like anything? Did anything like go weird for Brandy? Like, did she have a mechanical, or was there any issues? Or
I think she was probably just a fish out of water in those conditions. I mean, really.
but that's what we thought going into last year. But every time we were in the mud or in the rocks or the roots, like she was there.
But that wasn't.
That's pretty snotty stuff, dude.
Yeah, and that's not just the heavy slick mud. It's so much line choice there, and the years of running races like that of mud races and this and that. Like you learn which lines to pick and which fans to follow the lines that they point. Like
Not Chris Van Cannon. Hit this one here.
where was that?
Whenever you were pointing people at the the mud hole right behind the start at the very end before we walked back up.
Yeah.
You said, Chris, you were not the one I would listen to. Because he's sitting there. He's like, hit this one here. I would not listen to that guy.
There was someone's post that I read today that got pointed in a bad line because of a spectator, and someone helped him out.
Dude,
I
you know how many
forget who it
times I've
was.
sunk a bike because some kid said, hit it right here. Shallow. Whoosh. Fuck.
I hate to.
Oh my God.
I hate to be the spoiler, but if you are an amateur and you're in a race like that and you're looking for lines and there's a guy in a KTM shirt pointing you in a direction, that is not the right direction.
So there was
Go where they're standing, not where they're pointing.
in your
Yeah.
it was in your
Yeah.
video at the mud hole we're talking about.
Yeah.
The KTM guys are pointing one way, and Stu takes a complete different line, and he was saying, I ain't following what they telling me. But
Well, even like when the leaders start coming around, it's like they clog the good line and send everyone around it,
text
which
Nick,
I understand.
Yeah.
Text Nick. He didn't save your number.
Wow. Thanks a lot.
This Tyler Brown, he knows what happened to Brandy. Says
Oh, I didn't save his number either.
Oops.
he said KTM pulled her off to try to save money from their issues.
Trying to save on win bonuses?
Their financial issues they have going on. Nick's helping them out with that too, and Josh.
Team Green, brother.
Yeah, buddy. The whole shot mud hole was a doozy. There you go, Craig. Talk.
Do you guys think T-Rex got any honeys DMing him after that big payday he got?
I don't know.
I can't wait to ask him.
If damn T-Shep will type a little quicker, we will.
I didn't know which account he messaged. Sounds like we're going to hear from our overall points leader, but not actually overall points leader.
What is he is the? I looked on top 20. It's showing him number 1.
Yeah. So, yeah, he is the overall points leader right now. But can he win an overall championship? That is what we're trying to figure out.
Figure out if he's working on it. What he's working.
My YouTube page keeps crashing, but I assume that the stream hasn't gone out or somebody would have told us.
Yeah, it hasn't gone out on my thing.
Here, you know what? We're
big,
going to skip it. I'm calling him.
Big dirt bike guy. He finished 5th and 14th overall.
Who?
Russell. Caleb.
Tyler Brown says KTM's trying to recoup their money from Big Rig Craig being their truck driver and his date.
Buddy.
What is
Easy,
going on?
brother.
We are live, as you can tell. You've been following along. We are joined now by XC2 leader Nick DeFeo, or X. You know what I mean. You won the damn race from XC2. How you doing?
Overall leader.
Nah, I'm just driving.
Can you guys hear him in there?
Yeah, but
Yeah, we hear him.
he can't hear us.
Oh,
I can hear you.
Okay.
Nick, first question. How many honeys hit you up trying to get a little piece of that Cowie money?
Like 6 or 9.
Yeah, tuck the chain, brother. They're on the way.
Hey,
The gold diggers are on the way.
that's as soon as I saw my chain out, I thought of you, and I was like, damn it, he's right.
See, I told you,
As he
boys.
saw his what?
His chain hanging out. I told him at Sumter. I said, let your nuts hang and let your chain hang a little bit, bud. Hell yeah.
So
Hell yeah.
so
Hell
Nick,
yeah.
Nick, something that T-Shep brought up earlier. He was like, as I think, are you 19?
Yeah.
So as a 19-year-old with a 3.5-minute lead on the last lap of your first full XC2 season in the overall, what goes through your head other than what you're eating for dinner?
Well, as soon as I passed Jordan on at the PowerPoint, I was like, can I swear on here?
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
go for it.
No rules.
Okay. All right. I said, holy shit, what the fuck am I doing up here? And then I went through about a mile, and then
Wait, so
Trent.
I don't mean to interrupt
Huh?
you, but as soon as you passed Jordan, you knew exactly when you were in the physical lead.
Well, I mean, I thought I was because Jordan's usually up front. Johnny was up. I was down with Johnny for a little bit, and Stu's typically up front. And I like to watch the XT1 whole shot, and Stu got a good start. So, as soon as I passed Jordan, I kind of thought I knew I was in the lead, but I wasn't made sure. But I was like, damn, what am I doing?
Did y'all have any pre-race or pre-season conversations about what to do if this happened?
None at all.
Did you see me at the bottom of that hill in my neon shirt pointing the good
Oh,
line?
yeah.
Yeah, the highlighter.
You
Highlighter
can't
song.
miss that shirt.
It works out. It serves a purpose.
It does.
So yeah, there's a couple guys in the YouTube chat here, and I don't know if you can talk about it. Say what you can, but he said,
Media training.
"Do what?" Yeah.
Media training.
He said, "How much
Yeah.
money did you win? Let's talk money. What's that Cowie bonus like?"
Ooh.
I signed an NDA. Can't do that.
Well, let me ask you this: Is there a obviously you have an XC2 win bonus, but is there a bump for an overall win?
Yeah, me and Stu went through my contract today just to figure it out. Yeah, I do.
That's awesome. Good for you. Good for you, buddy. And I'll tell you what, don't blow all that money at a strip club one.
He can't get in.
Oh shit, he can't.
No,
can't.
he's old enough. He just can't drink.
That's right. The pink wristband.
Yeah.
So it sounds like he knows. But no, man.
What?
Invest. Take that money. Invest. Don't blow it.
No,
Be
titty bar.
smart.
Terrible
So
idea.
I did hear Stu make the comment when he said, "Dinner's on Nick. I know how much he makes." So
Dinner was not on me. We just went to Waffle House because nothing else was open.
How many waffles did you eat?
I ate one chocolate chip waffle with chocolate milk.
No blue ones?
Nah.
Oh, sorry about that.
How does that not just ruin your stomach after that?
I mean, I don't really watch what I eat. I mean, in the morning of the race, there's a cereal called Craves. It's literally just chocolate cereal that's filled with chocolate.
What
Breakfast
the
of
fuck?
Champions.
Yeah.
Dude, so
I should get sponsored by them.
yeah, shout out. So I went up to your parents in the middle of the race and basically gave them the holy shit look, and they immediately told me that your mom goes, "Don't even say it, don't even talk about it." How pumped were they after? Like, well, what was that like afterwards with you guys?
I mean, they were basically in disbelief the whole time. Like after it, like once we got into my camper, we were like, that actually happened. Cause like we basically just did GNCCs as fun, like for the first couple of years, and then like as soon as I got my first contract, it got serious. And then, I mean, now we're just looking back at it and like, dang, it's kind of cool that we kind of just came here for fun. I mean, I'm still doing it for fun. Like, I love to ride my dirt bike. I would do it for free. I mean,
Easy, brother.
Don't say
Easy,
that.
dude.
no, I'm not gonna say that, but I just like riding my dirt bike. So I mean, yeah.
So I know Doug. How you say his last name? Duchette.
Yeah.
I know he's been
Yeah.
a big part of your whole kind of deal with Cowie and coming up from the mini bikes. How was that with him being around and being right there at the finish? Because let me back up a little bit. The past couple of years, I've always made a point to speak to Doug, and he's helped me out with stuff at the track on Kawasaki's and whatnot. And he's a top notch guy. Like he is probably one of my favorite people to seek out and talk to in the pits.
Yeah, I mean, Doug is like my second dad. I mean, he's basically the reason that I'm on Cowie. After 2021, when I had like a bunch of bike problems on my super many years, Doug called Holiday and said that I'm basically the next one coming up, which I didn't really believe in then, but I was like, now it's kind of true. But I mean, he got me on a Cowie, and then he built my bikes for the last 3 years, and then I mean, he's just helped us a lot throughout the whole thing. And then I mean, it's nice having him there because he's like, we're just our whole family's so close because he used to be in Connecticut, and I guess we lived like 45 minutes away from each other and didn't know each other. I mean, now that we're connected, it was nice having him there.
I bet. And speaking to that point, like last year, obviously things happened with Babbitt's the way that they did. So like, how much did it mean to you versus like how stoked were you to find out that even though the team was going to be changing, like you were still going to be on Cowie, still with Team Green, still have Doug in your corner, all that?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any problem with the Babbitt's guys. I still like them. I still go up and talk to them all the time. But, I mean, I made sure that Doug was still staying with Cowie, that the guy that worked with me last year, Girroir, he was coming over, and like those are just the people that I trust the most. And I'm like, if I'm going somewhere, I want them to go with me. But they were already there, so I was like, perfect.
Yeah, and was with that being, Stu's first GNCC with the factory Cowie support, were like the top guys of Cowie there as well to see that happen?
Yeah, Holiday was there. A couple of the motor guys were there, and yeah, a couple of the mechanics from California were there. But that Florida, the big Cowie boss is going there.
Pressure's on, buddy.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's got to be a good feeling to not only do that, being first race with Stu first GNCC with Stu, but also to have those guys there. That's got to be not. It doesn't sound like it's really a "I told you so" feeling for you, but it's still got to make you feel good, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it feels good.
So I know you give your public, your PC answer when people ask you, hey, do you think you're going to be a threat in the XC2 class? I know it's your first full-time year in it, and you got to give the whole I just want to ride my dirt bike and have fun answer. But be realistic with me. Last year we saw 3 XC2 guys win. We saw you in the top 5 overall. We saw you in the top 10 overall, top AM 2 years in a row. Realistically, were you thinking that you were going to come out here and win an overall? And you might not have thought it from round 1, but did you kind of have a prediction for yourself or like a timeline of yourself of how long it would take you to get up and start working towards that?
I thought like after Snowshoe, I'd actually be up there.
In the overall or for an XC2 win?
For like an XC2 win.
Jeez. So now what's the expectation? You won by 3 minutes.
I mean, I don't know.
It's a lot of pressure, man. You had an outstanding ride. I don't want to put you on the spot and create pressure where there doesn't need to be pressure. It's a hell of a start to your first full-time year in the XC2 class.
Yeah. I mean, like, a lot of me wants to just go out there and win. But, I mean, realistically, I'm happy with top threes. I mean, I just want to get my first year done with, and I want to at least come out so I have a lot of motivation going into next year to hopefully get a championship.
No, for sure. And I'm just a guy behind a microphone, so take this with a grain of salt. Like, just because you came out swinging at the first round, it's still, like, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Like you said, coming in, getting top threes, like, that's the end goal. But coming out and winning, man, that was a hell of a way to start the season. But, yeah, just business as usual for here. Just focus on those goals and don't let the pressure get to you. Because right now, everywhere you look, man, people are talking about T-Rex and Nick DeFeo.
Yeah, I mean, I went into the NEPG with like so much pressure. I was like, dang, I'm really Callie really is expecting me to win, and then I got sixth. And then I came into this weekend, didn't really care how I finished. And I guess I got the overall. So I mean, I'm just gonna go in every weekend. I'm just gonna go in every weekend and just like be chill. I mean, I knew I rode better like that. Yes, like last year. Like I went into the season last year, be like, I need to win, or else I'm just not gonna want to race. But then as soon as I like chilled out and I was like, oh, this is actually fun again, then I actually started winning. So I mean, yeah, I just gotta have fun, and then I'm good.
Yeah, and I do got to ask, we were talking about tire setups. I saw you had a scoop on there at some point. Did what tire did you run during the race?
Oh, I ran that scoop. There was no way that thing was coming off.
As we were going back and forth if you stuck with it or not. Because I think you and Stu are the only ones out there with a scoop tire.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we did the Pirelli tire test, I think like 3 weeks before Big Buck, and it was kind of muddy at the shoals, but it had like that morning slop to it. And that was, I think, my first tire I tested because I love scoop tires. And we tried it with a medium bib and a super soft bib. And the super soft bib was like really good. And like I'd rather take that over than a normal dirt tire.
Was there any parts of that track that you think that scoop didn't work, or was it pretty good everywhere because it was so soft?
I mean, I didn't think it was too soft. Like the track was too soft. Like at a lot of the places, I still thought it was pretty hard.
Really?
I mean,
everywhere I saw was soft.
Yeah, I mean, you went to the big mud holes. Everywhere else was kind of like that quad trail was like pretty hard packed.
Okay.
But I mean, the only bad part was just braking. I went into the first corner and kind of overshot it, and I was like, I need to remember I'm on a scoop tire. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the only bad part was just braking in the slop. I mean, everywhere else was good. I think it was better than what a regular dirt tire would be, but. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I guess that answers it. We got another question on YouTube. Said, ask him how rough it was in the mud. Has he raced tougher conditions lately? And how often do you practice in the mud?
I don't think I ever practice in the mud.
Shit.
Like
hell yeah.
Like you don't want to go ride when it's raining. Like if you look outside and you're like, it's raining, I don't want to ride. I mean, I'm like everybody else. If it's prime conditions, I'll go ride. If it's really hot, I'll be like, dang, I have to go ride, but I really don't want to.
Nick, I have a question back on that the scoop tire. I know a lot of guys who run Dunlops, who run the MX-14, have told me that even at like Big Buck on a dry day, they say like an MX-14 is a super good tire for anywhere. Do you feel like, have you rode with that scoop tire anywhere where it was like mostly hard packed and you thought, well, this isn't that bad? Because I know a lot of people think the Dunlop scoop tires are super good. I didn't know what you thought about the one you ran this weekend, if you'd rode it anywhere else.
I mean, I rode like kind of limestone down in Florida. I mean, it was pretty good. Like, it has a really good edge to it. Like, I can, like, with a Dunlop, you can't really lean over, and like it kind of likes to slide. But like the Pirelli has such big like side knobs and transition knobs. It kind of grabs like good when you're leaning over. And I guess in the hard pack stuff, you lean the bike more than you do in the sand. So I mean, I think it's like a good all around tire.
Cool.
Well, sweet. No, we appreciate you listening in and enjoying a little OTP on your drive to Florida. And thanks for chatting with us, man. I don't want to take up a bunch of your time, but yeah, dude, we'll all be rooting for you. Stoked on the weekend that you had, and the only other thing that we got to root for is at least one more youth winner for the rest of the year to keep that record intact.
Yeah, Travis.
All right, man. Well, drive safe. We'll see you next weekend down in Florida. Appreciate the time.
All right, I'll see you
Later, Nick.
See ya.
later.
So there you have it. Impromptu call here on OTP Tuesday from your overall winner and overall points leader from the XC2 row, Nick DeFeo.
I tell you what, I like his reaction of when he passed Jordan.
Can we cuss on here?
On that hill.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That reminded me of
What the fuck?
the Kevin Hart thing where
Yeah.
he's like, I told you could say one cuss word.
And you
He's like,
said
"Can we-"
76.
He just let it rip.
My mama told me to
tell you
to mind your
Damn motherfucking business, bitch.
long titted, no nipple.
All right, we got a point. We try to keep it as PC as possible, but hey,
But
man,
nah,
you out, you got to win by 3.5 minutes. You can drop one every now
Yeah,
and then.
I think to what we were talking about with, we probably expected that to be his reaction after he won, but it sounds like he had, that holy shit, what the fuck am I doing up here? What do I do now? Reaction when he got into the lead, and that's pretty cool to hear because, yeah, it's fucking wild. Never happened.
Yeah. And how cool is it? Dude just set the world on fire and then is just casually listening and calls in. That was cool. He called and chat with us. I know a lot of people are kind of wanting to hear his thoughts after a weekend like that.
Yeah, and then and it's cool to hear you don't get a reaction or an interview like that on a podium or after a race on camera. That's a pretty candid interview. So
Yeah.
I think Stu would be proud of that one.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely following in the footsteps there. But man, what a good show, man. We had a lot of interaction, we had a lot of questions, we had a lot of stuff come up. There was a lot to talk about. This was a good show to get the season started.
Yeah, hell, there's 80 people listening right now.
Yeah.
Do you know what
We got our first money. People
Yeah.
can leave money in YouTube comments. I didn't know that. Just learned that out. Shout out Underfoot. We got a new subscriber.
Yeah, so any money that y'all give on YouTube goes directly to Craig and I, so feel free to spend all the money you want on YouTube.
Yeah, hook us up. Beer money, boys.
Yeah.
I really had no idea that you can do that, but it's super cool that he enjoyed it enough for.
They got to figure out how to cash it out.
It probably just goes to normal payout. That being said, make sure you watch the videos. The original GNCC Raw recap video. Seems like a new one pops up every day now, every week. So cool that it caught on to the point enough where everyone else wants to do the OTP way. But if you want the footage of the race weekend, check out On the Pipe podcast. We got everything up from this past weekend. And I guess a parting word, Tyler Brown is bringing it up again. I think someone said it earlier, but I wasn't sure if it was him or somebody else. What was Tebow's deal? Tebow, good friend of the program. We know he put together a program this year. I expected to see him at Big Buck.
Yeah, I don't know. I know talking to him before the season started, he was kind of thinking to just do national enduros, sprints.
He's doing
At
sprints?
East. He did the first full gas. I believe he's going to race the round number 2 this weekend.
It's not a sprint.
Full gas sprint enduros.
No,
GPs.
they're not enduro.
Just in the
I
name.
thought he was going to do U.S. sprint endurance too, but I guess those overlap. Or
I do
I guess
believe.
he didn't do those, did he?
No, he did because they're
So-
on the same weekend.
Yeah, they've done 2
But
already.
I think his main thing this year is going to be any PGs, and
It is.
I would say in Mid-East 20 can, I would say he probably would have been a Big Buck if the conditions wouldn't have been what they were.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
You know, he's doing this year out of his own pocket and scraping by some support where he can get it. So
Suck
You
to go out
saw-
there and blow a
Yeah,
bike up and
yeah.
set yourself back for the next couple rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, we got $10 more. That's 10 for me and 10 for Craig. Underfoot.
What
Let's go. Underfoot.
Shout out
What a-
Underfoot.
My
what a
man.
guy.
That's my guy. Underfoot, I put you over my foot. You know what I mean? $20, you deserve the top
Easy.
side.
But yeah, I don't know. I hated not seeing him there. He's a good buddy of ours. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe we can. Maybe I'll reach out to him here next few weeks or so and figure out what exactly he's going to do.
Yeah, I've been meaning to give him a call too. Figure out his plan of action. There's a Mid-East Hair Scramble happening this weekend down in Lawrence, South Carolina. Chestnut Corner, former ISDE qualifying site at the OG Full Gas Sprint Enduro Series. I
how
think
is-
there's a Full Gas this weekend.
How is that track? Is it any good?
It's South
I
Carolina.
hated that.
Yeah.
It is
Didn't
really
love
good. There's some cool like rocky technical sections.
Is that the one that's got them big rock slabs in the creek that they cross?
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen
Yeah.
videos of it.
It is a good when it's good conditions like this week. We're supposed to get
Snow.
snow or rain or whatever tomorrow.
Beautiful.
But then it's supposed to be good throughout the rest of the weekend. It'll probably be a really good track this weekend down there, to be honest with you.
Making my 30-plus Vet A debut Sunday.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, right after a
happy
day of
belated
drinking.
birthday.
No, not belated. You early.
Happy almost birthday.
Yeah, Sunday's my birthday.
Oh yeah, today's Tyler's birthday. Happy birthday, Tyler.
Yep.
This Sunday's your birthday,
Yep.
and you're racing on your birthday.
And what are you doing on Saturday, Tom?
Celebrating.
How you gonna do that?
I don't want to put a number on it, but I might have Bush Light for each age of
Check
each
him
year
out.
I've lived.
Check him
So
out.
That rider.
Sunday may be a struggle, but we're gonna be there.
You mean to tell me you're drinking 30 beers on Saturday and racing on Sunday?
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time. Hope Mom don't listen to this, but she wouldn't be.
Yeah,
proud.
she's throwing the party, so I mean,
Yeah.
you can
Hey,
go be able
man.
to keep it from her.
We'll get your entry fee on OTP this weekend. Your first,
Hey,
your
let's
first
go. Hey, you got
Half of it.
2/3
Hey,
of it.
I'm
here.
racing Saturday, bud. What the hell? Me too?
It's not your birthday.
Easy now.
yeah, get back to me when it's that time of the year.
I'll be in Italy. Won't even be here.
Italy.
I'll be there too.
I'm going for Italian Championship off-road race. My birthday.
Oh, never mind. I'll be
Are
there.
you?
When's
Are
your
you?
birthday?
Last time you went out of the country for a race, you raced. Are you racing that one?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Luke Ross got me a TM, brother.
A TM.
Uh-huh.
Does it got dual exhaust?
I don't know. It's a 304 stroke.
You gonna put the gas in the rear number plate?
I'm gonna lay it down, bud. Hard R.
That is weird. Every time I see Corey's seat, I have to venture back to her TM days.
On one.
But yeah, the gas cap is in the rear number plate.
I hope mine isn't. 'Cause I'm gonna lay it down, and I don't want to I don't want to put a hole in my fuel tank. You know what I'm saying?
Why are you gonna lay it down?
Be freaking ripping, dude. What do you mean?
Oh, I thought you meant right.
Steve Holcomb ain't got shit on me.
Shit.
Just
All
kidding.
right. So I think when you get this thing on the road, 10:30.
Damn.
Biggest YouTube show so far. We get a good bit of downloads after the fact. Found out most people are listening from Spotify, a lot on Apple Podcasts. But as far as like live YouTube show, I think this is the biggest one yet.
We can't. Are we gonna do that next week?
What?
Florida bets.
Yeah, let's do that next week.
Okay.
Leading into Florida. There was some West Coast stuff. Sorry, didn't get to it. We'll talk about that next week. Some racing going on this weekend. Mid-East Hair Scramble in Lawrence, South Carolina. Come check it out. It's going to be a good one. Highest pro payouts that I know of anywhere around. Full gas on Saturday. You can race both if you choose so. Anything else going on this weekend?
Busting out CR500.
Got the full gas.
Oh yeah.
Good luck.
Michael
fun.
Anderson just texted me and said it's wide open. And my brakes
Where's
are
it
from
at?
19 it's at Outback. Same
Good-
brake pads
good
on it
place.
since about 2001.
You gonna go
Um,
eat at Outback when you leave Outback?
No, I'm gonna drive
You
to
are you
Deer
gonna-
Track Drive, and I'm gonna go eat hot dogs.
Oh yeah. What's going on there?
Tom's drinking 30 beers.
Damn, you just
I get it.
You just blew it out on the damn OTP, man.
Well,
gave his address and everything. You just
I just
doxed
said
him on the
I just said
internet.
the road. You know,
It's
Oh,
about a
I-
mile and a half
we-
that way.
We have to talk.
Not even.
We have to talk about this because the man gave us $20 tonight.
What do we got?
The last-
Underfoot's got my attention.
Yeah, the last lap ATV drama. Did you see it?
Yeah, I did.
Did you see it like
No, I
at the
didn't.
track? You just saw the videos.
Yeah. So that's an interesting
What,
situation.
what do you know? Do you know anything about it? Because boys are fired up.
So from what I can deduce, and I've had this conversation with some people, but it does seem to be the trending topic in GNCC racing. Adam McGill, the Gator, we all know him. The Stu Baylor of quads. What? Are you just looking at the video right now?
No.
I should have captured the face. So going into, I think, 3 turns left, Josh Merritt, who I talked to right before the race, but came up the inside, slammed into Adam McGill, got on 2 wheels, pushes him through the banners. And when that happened, I didn't realize at the time, but when you go back and look at it, when they went through the banners, Adam McGill is already leaning over,
yeah.
punching him.
oh yeah,
And then they go through the finish line. Adam McGill rams him once, rams him twice, and then gets off and just starts swinging at him.
Hit him hard too. He like
So the thing is from what I can tell by the video, I think that Josh Merritt definitely meant to run it up on him. And I definitely think he meant to block pass him.
yeah.
I think the conditions made it a little bit more than what he anticipated. Like I expected, I think he meant for a bump and pass, but I didn't think he'd get on the binders quick enough to get that thing woed down. And I think he hit him harder than he meant to.
well, and McGill left the door way open. I mean, it was
Yeah.
wide open.
And it was an aggressive pass, but it wasn't a bumper to the side of the quad either. I mean, it was
It was side to side.
wheel.
Yeah.
Like he slid into him. He didn't just freaking truck him. And from the video, and Adam McGill might be listening to this and say you're an absolute freaking joke because it didn't look like it was going to hurt anybody
Yeah.
from the video. It might have hurt. I don't know. I wasn't me.
Well,
But it looked halfway safe.
my first thought is what happened before that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? In the other fields coming into the finish that you didn't see.
I didn't hear any of that backstory.
I don't. Neither have I. I don't know any quad guys. So
They're all super cool. But
Tyler Bruton.
and I thought the interesting part of the whole ordeal is one thing that I've kind of, I don't want to say critical. I've been critical on. I guess you could say it that way, but one thing that I've talked about is the way that penalties are handled in GNCC and how sometimes they're up here and sometimes they're down here and sometimes they're over here, all for the same offense. Like there's no consistency with the punishments. I did think it was cool that this time they brought in 5 different riders
do you know who
from bikes and quads,
and reviewed it?
to help make the decision.
Do you know who?
I know for a fact Stu Baylor was the deciding vote. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't want to speak for him.
He was one of the guys.
He was one of the 5.
Was Walker one of them? I'm assuming.
I
To
don't-
quad champions.
No.
Yeah, but I don't think
What
you
it said?
could. I don't think you could get somebody that was
Yeah.
in the race.
He won the race.
Yeah, you couldn't have.
Just the way I read it, I thought they'd like past quad champions.
surely
Probably
they-
Barry.
I assume that meant Barry Hawk.
I don't know
Because
why I
they said
immediately thought
they said
Walker.
a champion from both sides. I don't know anybody else who won champions on both
Yeah.
on quads and bikes.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say that Stu was the deciding vote. Obviously, there was 5 people. They all decided it. You know what I mean? Equal votes.
And it said it was
cast.
unanimous. Is
Yeah.
what I read.
Yeah. So, and from what I heard, I don't think that any of the people on the panel really necessarily even knew what was going on. Like, I don't think they knew who was involved, and I don't necessarily think they know what had happened. I
They
think
showed
it
him the
kind
video.
of, I think it just kind of got laid out, and then they found out who it was after the fact.
Yeah, did not get T-boned.
So
quad
interesting-
guy,
Slid.
quad
Power slid into him.
Interesting way to go about it. I thought that was kind of cool to bring in peers and discuss it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I guess my thoughts on it is like,
Well,
I don't think I think the conditions made it worse than what he meant to be. At least it looked like it.
I
don't think Merritt meant to hit him that hard.
Not for McGill. McGill obviously meant to.
No, because if it wasn't as rainy as muddy, then I don't think Adam would have threw the punches. I think he slipped on the mud and kind of fell towards
that door,
him and made contact.
That door was wide open too. He must not have understood that he was right there, or didn't think he was gonna.
Well, they were racing for like 6th, right?
Yeah, I don't know for sure,
Like
but
5th
that's
or
what I
6th
heard.
or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, like it wasn't for the win. But I think if McGill wouldn't have rammed into him at the finish, there wouldn't have been any issue. Like if they'd have gone back and gotten a fight in the pits, you would have never.
Yeah, nobody would ever heard nothing about it.
But I tell you what, that'll be that was a good first weekend for this documentary film thing.
Yeah.
Between DeFeo and that happening, if they got that on video.
Dude, the Florida shirts, the quad shirts are just going to have Adam McGill cocked back, ready to go. Shirt's going to go wild.
Adam Mayweather. Couch on couch looked like a sectional out there. I agree, Underfoot. You could say the sky's red, and I agree with you. Because you gave us $20 tonight, and I'm very thankful for it.
It's the most money this show's ever made.
Just because I think that's really cool, man. I never had anybody care enough to damn donate, so I appreciate you.
Well, let's wrap it up. Some of us got to get up and go to work tomorrow.
Who's that? Not me.
Yeah, me.
Craig,
Me and
you got
Reba.
work tomorrow?
Yep.
There's Reba.
Marshall Steam Station, brother.
Wouldn't be a live show without Reba making an appearance on
Here,
here.
get her in there.
Reba.
Trip Sherrill wanted me to mention that he is fast as fuck, and that everyone on here should know.
Well, now they know.
He's ran 2 B class races.
All right, everybody. Be a friend, tell a friend. Thank you for those that tuned in. Thank you for listening. If you are listening to this post-tense and you weren't on the live YouTube feed, you do not see the beautiful golden doodle that is on screen right now. Shout out Nick DeFeo, T-Rex, getting it done in dominant fashion this past weekend, taking the win, and then calling in to let us know all about it. Super cool of him to call in and give us the inside scoop of what was going on. Thank you, Tom, for being here. Thank you, Craig, for showing up late. Bought me some time with technical difficulties, but we made it happen. Now I got a week to kind of build this thing out and run a little bit better of a program next year, but hope you guys like the changes. We're trying to bring the professionalism into the program a little bit. At least make it more watchable for you guys at home as to what we're doing so we can talk about the racing that's going on. Like I said, be a friend, tell a friend. Check out our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe wherever you're listening to this at. We will see you next week on the Pipe Podcast.
Deuces.
Adios.